Okay, welcome back, and now we're going to do an application type problem. And so I'm going to read it to you. I wrote some information on the board, but let me read the setup for you. It says James and Kathy are racing on roller skates. They race along a long straight track, and whoever has gone the farthest after 5 seconds wins a prize. If James can skate at a velocity of f of t equal to 5 plus 2t feet per second, so here's James, and Kathy can skate at a velocity of g of t equal to 10 plus cosine of pi over 2 times t feet per second, who's going to win the race? So now, this is velocity, right? So in order to find distance, right, so we need to calculate total distance. So first thing to recognize is that these functions represent velocity over time. So it's definitely not constant. But also realize that we want to find total distance traveled in the first 5 seconds. So what we're going to do is we're going to integrate, right? So the distance is going to be the total area under the curve, right? And that's what we're going to get by using the fundamental theorem of calculus part 2. So I'm going to write for James's distance. Thinking whether I don't think there's an S needs to be there. So James' distance is going to be the integral from 0 to 5 of f of t dt, right? Which is going to be the integral of from 0 to 5 of 5 plus 2t dt. And now we're going to use the fundamental theorem of calculus because I can find the antiderivative of these term by term. So this is going to equal 5t plus t squared evaluated from 0 to 5. Okay? And now, this is equal to 5 times 5 plus 5 squared minus 5 times 0 plus 0 squared. Well, obviously, this is just going to be 0. So this is just going to be 25 plus 25, which equals 50 feet. So that's how far James traveled in the first 5 seconds, 50 feet. And again, we're dealing with an application problem, so make sure you have units. Okay, now, let's do Kathy's distance. So James went 50 feet. Let's see how far Kathy went. So we're going to do the integral from 0 to 5 of g of t dt, which is going to be the integral from 0 to 5 of 10 plus cosine of pi over 2 times t dt. Now, we need to find the antiderivative. So the antiderivative of this is going to be 10t plus, now what's the antiderivative of cosine? It's going to be sine. Sine of pi over 2 t. Now, here we have here we have the chain rule, right? So remember, when it comes to these functions, how do we take the derivative? Okay, so if we take the derivative of this thing, we have to get back to this. Okay? For the chain rule for taking the derivative, right? Differentiation is you take the derivative of the outside and multiply it by the derivative of the inside. It turns out that for integration, you do it backwards, well, sort of backwards. So for integration, it's you integrate, you find the antiderivative, you integrate the outside function, but then divide by the derivative of the inside function. Okay? You divide by the derivative of the inside function. So here, you would divide by the derivative of the inside function, which is pi over 2, or, in other words, you would multiply by the reciprocal. So it would be 2 over pi. Now, if you ever wonder, just take the derivative of this thing. See if you get back to this. So how do I take the derivative of this? Well, I use the chain rule. The derivative of sine is cosine. Then I take the derivative of the inside. I multiply by the derivative of the inside, which is pi over 2. Well, look at that. Pi over 2 times 2 over pi is 1. And so you get this. So it works. Okay? So remember, when you're finding the antiderivative, it's using the chain rule for antiderivatives is you take you find the antiderivative of the outside. So you integrate the outside and then divide by the derivative of the inside. Okay? Okay, so now we're going to evaluate this from 0 to 5. Okay, now, here we go. This is going to be equal to 10 times 5 plus 2 over pi times the sine of pi over 2 times 5 minus 10 times 0 plus 2 over pi times the sine of pi over 2 times 0. Okay? Now, this is 0. Sine of pi over 2 times 0, that's 0. So sine of 0 is 0. So this thing again is going to 0. Now that won't always happen, but in this case, the whole thing goes to 0. So now we just have to simplify the left side. So this is going to be 50 plus 2 over pi times the sine of 5 pi over 2. Okay, so what's, well, 5 pi over 2. Okay, so 5 pi over 2, so let's do this. 5 pi over 2 is equal to 4 pi over 2 plus pi over 2, which equals 2 pi plus pi over 2. Well, this is one revolution, so we can write this as just the same as pi over 2. So the sine of 5 pi over 2 is the same as the sine of pi over 2, which is 90 degrees, so the sine of 90 degrees is 1. And so what do we get? We get 50 plus 2 over pi. So guess what? Kathy went a little farther. So she won the race. Or she won the prize, I should say. Okay. Have a great day.